And for the singing of O Canada. O Canada,
our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our songs command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
It sounds different without Phil. I always tease him. Yeah. Record of attendance, and can I have a motion? Thank you, Don, to excuse, and seconded.
That was for Phil.
The motion was for Phil. Yeah, he's out of town on business. Declarations of conflict of interest, anyone, and you can, at the time of the item comes up. Approval of agenda, any additions? So under additions, we did put South Park lights. Was there anything else anybody wanted to add or delete? We're good? Okay. Okay, can you put your microphone on there? Because we love to hear your voice.
I've had two concerns expressed to me about intersections in town where there's obstructions that are shrubbery or so on.
Okay.
And I'm uncertain about what we have in terms of regulatory authority or other authority to check out and in fact make sure that the sight lines are safe on those kinds of intersections. Do we have the authority to enter on private property, remove a shrub, or ask for it to be done, that kind of thing?
So does that go to committee of the whole where we can have, or maybe add it as an agenda?
So all I was looking to do, Your Worship, tonight is bring it up and ask staff to look into it, and we'll try to bring it up at a committee of the whole later.
Okay, so I will put Councillor Hood, I'm going to put just intersections. That's under 13B.
Intersection obstructions.
Intersection
Visual and sight lines there. Intersection sight lines.
Okay, good. Thank you. Turn this light off. Any more additions or deletions? And can I have, thank you, Councillor Jim. Move the agenda, second by Councillor Don. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, approval of the minutes. Public hearing November 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Wade and Councillor Jim. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. We have Town Council November 14th, please.
So moved.
Councillor Don, Councillor Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Town Council in camera November 14th. Councillor Jim and Councillor Don, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole, November 27th, please.
So moved.
Councillor Don. Councillor Steve. Questions called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole in camera, November 27th.
So moved.
Councillor Don. Councillor Steve. Any discussion? Questions called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And Committee of the Whole, December the 10th. Councillor Steve and Councillor Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Thanks, folks. Okay, business arising, hospitality policy, CAO. Want to take that one?
Sure. Your Worship, a draft hospitality policy was brought forward at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and some feedback was received concerning being clear that two things. One is that we can expend money on hospitality for people who live within our town and area, because that was not clear in the first draft. And secondly is that hosting and providing hospitality means hosting and providing hospitality in our area. And so with those two clarifications, Your Worship, a motion, if it's your pleasure, a motion to approve the hospitality policy would be in order.
I'll make that motion.
Hey, what happens if I'm out of town? Hospitality at the end. Is that okay?
What's that?
If I'm out of town?
That's not okay? Not hosting?
Gotcha. Okay, Councillor Jim?
Jeff, the last one where it says clerk's annotation for official policy book, town clerk, that's the right wording, the right term, as opposed to CFO, CAO?
Yes. Yeah, so officially under the MGA, it is the clerk's responsibility to look after this sort of stuff, the bylaw and policy stuff, so that it is a role, not an individual.
Thank you.
The individual is me.
Okay, good. All right. Question's been called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Mariner Center Vision Statement, CAO.
So, Your Worship, Council had a facilitated session with Max Chauvin a while ago to talk about our shared vision of what Mariner Center could be, should be to our community, because it's never been clearly articulated in detail. And you guys had you councillors had a good session. I thought it was very active participation from all in attendance, and I thought that the articulation of what your vision was very clear, and the document attached is a result of Max's note-taking from that, and I thought that he did an excellent job, and my colleagues and I reviewed this, and we all agree that he did an excellent job in interpreting your vision for you in this document. It has been the photos that have been added to it, and the color is courtesy of our communications officer to make it a more attractive document, but the text itself came from Max. The one thing that I want to say or draw your attention to is that a strategic vision is about a future state. It's an aspiration. So there is a part in here where it talks about, under the very last section, it talks about the facility. And it says the facility provides an ice surface, community event space, a full-service aquatic facility, and opportunities for other sports. Well, obviously that's not the case today. But this is written in the present tense, but it is about a future state. It is aspirational. And some may find that confusing, and we may want to revisit it in terms of the verb tense. Is that the right way? Future versus present. But in either way that you frame it, whether it's future tense or present tense, the vision is the vision. And so we can wordsmith it a bit to make it clear that what we're not saying is that we have an aquatic center today. We're saying that our vision for the future is to have an aquatic center there. We're not saying that all of these things are necessarily true today, although some clearly are. This is where we want to be at some non-specific point in the future. And so the next step, if this were approved, is to create a strategy, to achieve this vision. So it would be appropriate to discuss this evening, and if it is your pleasure, to approve the strategic vision.
Good, thank you. Councillor Hood?
I've got one comment. So in the mission statement, there's a significant reference to the health and wellness of our communities aspect of this in the last part, under the mission statement. But in the last part, which you just referred to, I don't find any reference to the health and wellness words, which I think are an important part of this, and it may be an oversight.
Because it's, yeah.
The facility.
Facility, yeah.
Mariner Center's world-class sport, recreation, and event facility,
Recreation.
and so on and so on and so on. And they lose the health and wellness part of the, I think that is probably was intended to be some reference to health and wellness in there.
Okay,
After all, that's
yep, that's the
how
focus.
you get your funding.
Okay, I'm gonna let Wade speak, and then you can find if there's a, okay, go ahead, Counselor Jim.
Thank you, Your Worship. When this is approved, it would be nice to have it framed and posted or presented out at the Mariner Center itself. I think it's, and posted strategically out there, located so that everyone sees it, maybe even twice.
Thank you. Go ahead, Counselor Wade.
I'd just like to say, as we're heading in an interesting direction with the Mariner Center, in that, of course, we are currently on the look for a new general manager for the area, and I think it's really crucial to have this in place now. It's a most opportune time to have this ready to go in order for whomever becomes the new general manager to actually start putting some of this in place. And so with that, I would like to make a motion that we approve it, although his mention of the health and wellness part, I was looking that over once he brought it up, and he's right. It's not actually there, although it's certainly implied
It's in the vision statement at the start.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, and it just, for some reason, under the facility part, it just don't, I think it's just an oversight.
Yeah, perhaps. Other than that, I'd like to make the motion that we approve this.
Okay, there's a motion, it's seconded. Yep, go ahead.
The other 2 units that are participating in the activity of the Mariner Center or other unit, are they also being presented with the same act?
So they are, and the District of Yarmouth actually dealt with it last night. And the issue that I flagged in my opening comments were a result of their conversation around their table, where the verb tense being the present tense, even though this is a vision and a futuristic, they were a little concerned about the fact that maybe it would be mistaken to be saying we are this, when in fact what we're saying is we want to be able to say we are this in the future. So I did make a suggestion that maybe we would change the headings to say our vision on community is, our vision on community buzz, our vision on life happens, to repeat the fact that it's vision, right? It's future. And so there will be a little bit of wordsmithing to make it satisfy everybody's concerns. So I'll take Councillor Hood's comments about health and wellness.
Absolutely.
And so the final version of this is likely to be wordsmithed a little bit. But if you approve in principle,
Yeah.
right, then we can fine tune it.
I wouldn't want us to change that tense. I like what you're suggesting. And I've done, in my consulting company, a lot of visioning exercises for different companies. And this is, you speak as though it is, right? So it's written in the correct tense for a visioning statement. But to the CAO's point, to add that our vision is, this is what we see ourselves as. Go ahead, Councillor Don.
So are we moving, so when you make your changes, are you moving that last statement in the mission statement, these activities will, is that moving to the shortly after or at the start of the facility one? You see what I'm saying? Will that be,
Yeah.
or will that be?
I think what we would do is leave the mission statement the way it is and make sure the words health and wellness appear further down within the detail of the vision itself. Because the word health does not appear below the mission statement at all when we get into the detail. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Does that answer the questions? Linda, is this what you're here for? No? Okay.
No, I
Just here?
we discussed presentation from the splash park.
That's not in here. Oh, Oh, the request, okay. Okay, so on this one, it's been moved and seconded to accept it in principle.
Subject to minor amendments.
Right on. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Land use bylaw amendment, 65 Parade, 199 Pleasant Street, second reading. So at 7 o'clock, we had a public hearing, and at the public hearing on this issue, we read the recommendation and asked 3 times if anybody would like to speak to the issue, and nobody spoke to the issue, so we bring it to council, and we can discuss this here. What is appropriate after I read this is a motion to approve or not approve, whatever is the wish of council. So from the public hearing of December 12th, earlier this evening, to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to permit the construction of additional residential units at 65 Parade Street and 199 Pleasant Street as outlined in the planner's report. The recommendation is that residential units be permitted throughout the commercial industrial CI4 zone in the area known as the Forest Street Industrial Park, in combination with some of the permitted uses in the zone. Okay, so I am looking for discussion or a motion to approve, whatever the wishes are of council.
Motion to approve.
Okay, moved. Councillor Jim?
I'll second that
Okay.
motion.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion on that? Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Citizen Advisory Committee's policy amendment. CAO?
Okay, Your Worship, at recent Committee of the Whole meeting, it was suggested that, it wasn't suggested, it was moved that we amend the Citizen Advisory Committee policy to allow persons non-resident to the town of Yarmouth to participate in the Communities in Bloom Committee. And so it's within this policy that we outlined the membership of the Communities in Bloom Committee. And so we've added clause 7.4, which says, notwithstanding Town of Yarmouth policies regarding residency of advisory committee members, up to 20% of the appointed members of the Communities in Bloom Advisory Committee may have their primary residence outside the town of Yarmouth. So that is not completely exceptional in terms of the town of Yarmouth allowing non-resident to be members of our committees. We do allow persons who own businesses or are directors of a business based in the town of Yarmouth, but it was our understanding, or my understanding, that in this case, the Communities in Bloom was simply looking to have 1 or 2 spots open on the committee for non-resident members, and so that clause would allow that. I've used notwithstanding other policies because we have about 3 different policies that deal with how we appoint members to advisory committees, and so that clause I'm suggesting would serve the purpose. And so you can have up to 10 members appointed, so that would be up to 2 members could be non-resident to town of Yarmouth.
Two members, non-residency, this is, because this is just municipal boundaries are.
So,
So on top of, yep, you can. I'm just wondering if, because I listened to you, but I just want to understand that if you own a business or you are a director in a company or something in the town, you're included in this plus the 2?
Yes.
Separately?
Yes.
Okay, that works.
Yep.
Yeah, that works. It doesn't, okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jim.
I'm prepared to support the recommendation 7.4. I guess I've always felt that when we look for committee members, that we don't necessarily have to find them 100% of them within our town of Yarmouth. That's another issue. and I understand that, but I just want to voice that thought that I have. And so there's expertise who live outside the town who are on some of our committees, and they're very active people. So if this is a start, Jeff, then I'm prepared to make a motion to support the addition of 7.4 to our citizen advisory policy.
Councillor Wade?
I'd just like to speak on it just very, very briefly. For the fact that, of course, it's Communities in Bloom, and I am the chair of, and it's a discussion we have fairly often. And as Councillor Jim has said, in our instance, we're kind of unique because Communities in Bloom has a kind of a wider scale, I guess. And through the Communities in Bloom National Symposium and all the enormous amount of work that it required, we relied on a great amount of volunteers, and there were a lot of them that are not residents of Yarmouth and some of the hardest workers. And I think that with Communities in Bloom, perhaps uniquely, and I think it applies to others, Councillor Jim, again, I think you're probably right, but if you care enough about something to be involved in it, you should be allowed to be in it.
Thank you.
I guess it's that simple when it comes right down to it. And so very much I support this, obviously, and it's kind of my push that some of the people who worked so hard in the last while and contributed so much to the local Communities in Bloom deserve to have a seat at that board. So thank you very much for that.
I thank you. I completely agree. It's really difficult to sit here, and I'll go a step further. Doesn't matter where you live in this region. This is your town.
Are we not?
That's right. This is where you do your banking. It's where you do your recreation. It's all those pieces. So this is a start, if we're okay with that. So the motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Questions called? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Compost quality control policy.
Okay, so as we discussed at the Committee of the Whole, we've had some issues with plastic contamination in our compost that are causing us all kinds of issues in terms of processing and ultimately certifying our compost. And so we spoke about having the ability to double charge for excessive amounts of plastic. And so the policy would allow the facility manager to make that call based on the appearance of the pile on the tipping floor. If it's excessive beyond reason, then we would hit our customer with a double tipping fee. I can tell you that I've communicated that to my colleagues in the region who are customers, and they're very concerned with the compliance of their citizens, and they are, I can tell you already, attempting to speak to their haulers about rejecting green carts if they appear to have too much plastic. They understand our issue at the plant, and so they don't want to pay double tipping fees. They want to solve the problem. The other possibility I put in here based on a conversation with a colleague was he asked me to load the stuff back on the truck. He said, send it back. We'll have our guys sort it and make it right, and that should make sure it doesn't happen again. So I did put in here a provision that we could reload it onto the hauler vehicle at a cost of 50% of the normal tipping fee, because there will be some effort involved on our part, and there should be some cost on their part. So we would accompany either of those situations where our customer would be charged either of these fees. They would receive email notification, obviously notification to the hauler immediately, email notification to the customer along with pictures, so they could see the issue firsthand. So this policy is only really dealing with that issue. We did talk about the idea that we would have maybe some tiered pricing to allow us to move large volumes of compost. That's not contained within this policy. DeMario, our project engineer, is still working on that, and we'll have something in late January to propose on that. We aren't in a crisis situation on that, and we have a little bit of time to get it right. So if it's your pleasure, if you have any questions, happy to answer, but this is what we've come up with in terms of policy.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wood.
So, Your Worship and CAO, this policy initiative was discussed at length at Waste Check on our meeting on Monday. Waste Check, for those that need reminding, is an organization that oversees solid waste management, disposal, and so on, organics and the rest, in the areas of Digby Town, Digby Municipality, Clare, Yarmouth, Yarmouth Municipality, and Argyll. It functions very well, frankly, and as a collective, and there was strong support around the table for this initiative. And our facility manager was on site and was able to update our members and our colleagues from the other municipal units about this problem and explain some of the rather striking examples of some loads coming from some places that were very heavily contaminated with plastics from the green carts. So this is, and so I believe that you will find that our municipal colleagues who share in the cost of operating the compost facility will heartily endorse and work with this policy. So I think it's one that we should adopt and proceed with.
Good. Moved, seconded by Councillor Hood. Any more discussion? Questions called? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Got some noise. That or a UFO's gonna land. Okay, I missed one here. We have to go back up to 9D because I missed one. So Iron and Ink Bike Rally.
Worship, please, at the recent Committee of the Whole, we received a presentation from an individual proposing what turns out to be a separate bike rally for Yarmouth. We have looked into that and performed some due diligence, and we're satisfied that anything that might happen in Yarmouth should only happen in conjunction to an invitation and/or request from the existing ongoing rally organizers in the town of Digby and the municipality of Digby. I think that the town would likely respond positively if it was perceived to be a need and a request from that organization to perhaps expand or enhance their annual event. So with that, I think we should inform the proponent that appeared before us of our thoughts in this matter and inform the parties of our council's position and decision.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. New business, appointment of building official.
Your Worship, we will be for a time through this winter without our regular building inspector. He's going to be on a leave. And so we have had in the past an arrangement with our neighboring municipalities to be able to access and share their building officials to meet the needs within the town. So I've contacted both the CAO in Argyll and the CAO in the District of Yarmouth, and they're willing to support us through what we think will likely be a 3-month period. So what we need to do is to appoint their building officials, the building officials appointed by those 2 districts as building officials within the town of Yarmouth. And beyond that, we have a policy on minimum housing standards, which is to be administered according to our bylaw by a building official. And for that purpose, I would like you to appoint our town engineers, Mark Brophy and Mario Dunkley, to be appointed building officials in the town of Yarmouth for that purpose. So appointing a whole bunch of people as building officials in hopes that through the absence of our building official, that will completely cover the needs within the town for that period of time.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, second by Wade. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Welcome, building official. Yes, thank you. Reports, council advisory committees. So we have a new deputy mayor this morning, or this evening. It's Councilor Wade. So this one, I think I gave you some of the technicals. You have both of them. Let's start with it. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. These are motions from the Committee of the Whole on November 27th. First off, the Council directs staff to seek prices from local firms for the bulk purchase of approximately 2,500 cubic yards of Class A compost, as recommended by the Manager of Public Works.
Okay, second by Councilor Don. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
Thank you. That Council request a presentation from Yarmouth Splash Park at the next available meeting.
Okay. Seconded. Okay, so I'm just going to say this because you're sitting here. So did you expect to present tonight? Okay. No, so this is just so it's clear. So what happens is we have committee of the whole meeting and we make recommendations to council. And then council has to approve those recommendations, which just happened. So hopefully, I'm not sure what's on the agenda for January, but that would be the date that you would. But hasn't it been exciting sitting here watching council all evening? That's what I thought. I'll tell you, some people are just watching it via Eastlink and they're wishing they were here. So Linda, thank you for coming and for your commitment to this process. And we, Lindsay will make sure that she contacts you and gets you on as soon as possible. And I'm sorry if you made a special trip out, but we're glad you're here. Okay, good, right? Me too. The traffic was awful getting from our street, wasn't it? Okay, so thank you for that. So all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. That Council refer the correspondence from Temple Baptist Church to the Yarmouth County Solid Waste Park.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Were you going to say something, Councillor? You look like you have something on your mind.
Well, I don't know if it's okay to approve the motion. There's no conflict with all the information that we've been receiving. Just curious. We're all okay with this approval of this motion? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so moved. Did somebody second that? Second. Councillor Steve? Okay, any more discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
That Council refer Scott and Kelly Mitchell's request for Sprucewood Playground to staff.
Okay, so moved.
What was that motion again?
That Council refer Scott and Kelly Mitchell's request for Sprucewood Playground to staff.
Do you remember what that one was?
I wasn't here for a meeting, but I'm not prepared to second the motion on it.
Okay. I'll second that motion. For discussion? Okay.
So where's it going? Have you approved it?
Go ahead there, Councillor Steve.
So I've talked to Scott and Kelly quite a bit through this process, and basically they lost a daughter last year, and they've started a room called the Aiden May support room, I believe, down at the Tri-County Mental Health Association. And they basically they provide a space for kids to go and get support for mental health, and they're trying to do other initiatives in her name, and they would like the Sprucewood, or the park, to be named after her. So they've been in contact with town staff on and off to kind of work something out. We referred them to the community asset program, and I just think that they're looking for more. So basically, this would just be a conversation with them about what could be done to honor their daughter in some way within the parameters that kind of are set by council already.
Which is basically the community asset donation plan, so.
Right. They just want to work with town.
So
to
it's
do
just
something.
to have those conversations with staff, so maybe they better understand what's available?
No, I'm concerned about the naming of the park.
No, no. I don't
Well, I
think
don't
that's.
want to, I'll express my opinion on that.
Yeah,
I think that is an unwise thing to do.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
And this motion isn't to name it after her. It's just so the town staff can talk to them to see what can be done.
The briefing note, that's what it was.
Yeah.
The briefing note I read was to name a park after a deceased resident of the town.
Yeah, so I think what happened, keep your light on, Counselor Steve, there. I think what happened is they brought it forward to Counselor Steve, and we're directed to the community asset donation plan, because we don't do the entire park. We just, so that's what happened. And then they just want to talk to staff to see what the next thing is, what the next step is. It's not the park. I think we all agree on that. It's not the park. So what do we do?
What's the motion entail?
A discussion.
On what was presented in the package, which included naming the park after an individual, a deceased individual.
And we've already responded to that the community asset program would be the best way to go. And
So I
there's-
think the mix-up might be in the
Why do you have to
motion.
refer to staff? Why don't you just approve that?
What are you thinking?
So, Your Worship, the original request was to name the park. Council had staff recommendation that you utilize your community asset donation program, because that, in fact, was the intention in the first place. And at that point, the Mitchells had spoken with staff prior to that meeting, and were aware of that. Council made their decision. The Mitchells were advised. They wrote us again and asked council to reconsider the decision, and the motion and the committee of the whole that is before you tonight to refer it to staff is a result of that second letter. But referring it to staff doesn't have a mandate beyond the policy set by council. And so the only policy we have, the only policy guidance we have is the community asset donation program. So that would be the scope of the conversation that we would have.
So it's clear that what we're approving here on this motion does not include any aspect of the naming of the park after some deceased individual or an individual who's not deceased for that matter.
So.
Is that a question? It's clear to me. It's clear to me.
I think it's the wording, request for Sprucewood Playground. It's not about the playground, it's about a piece in the playground. So I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, let's reword it. Council refer the request for, with regard to the community asset donation plan and the Sprucewood Playground to staff. We want to get it right. So what are you thinking?
Well, I'm done. I just expressed my concern about that part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, just think how many parks you could name.
Well, we can't, and that's why we can't. We just can't.
Yeah, it is.
Your Worship, maybe it would be, if council is clear in its desire to manage this request through the community asset donation program, then perhaps at the end of the motion to add within the scope and parameters of the community asset donation program.
That's it. That does it.
And then it's very clear to staff and we could be very, very, it's unambiguous if we can add that.
I see an absolutely positive thing if they can be enabled to have a vehicle that affords people who wish to donate for their project and obtain a legitimate tax receipt. The town can facilitate that, but we should do that.
I agree. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking for, if everybody is okay with that piece, what we're adding on the end is within the community asset donation plan. Program. Okay, so Jim's moving the amendment. So now what happens is we vote on that amendment. Who wants to second that?
Second.
Second by Councillor Cliff. Okay, any more discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Now we are voting on the entire amended motion, okay? But not the...
Not the amended.
Not the... Yeah. Yeah.
No. No, I'm just reading it.
Jim, you
When
can
you
move
read it,
also.
it's your...
Councillor McLeod, if you move it, I'll second it.
Okay? Thank you,
And I
Councillor.
second the motion as
All right, and Councillor Hood, okay?
Can we hear the whole?
So that council refers Scott and Kelly Mitchell's request for Sprucewood Playground to staff within the boundaries of the Community Asset Donation Program.
Yep,
Okay?
that's the motion.
So moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you, folks.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. That council pay the honorarium to David Oley, town crier, for services provided.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Because I signed that check today. Let's say yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. It wasn't sent out, though. Okay, good. Thank you, Councillor. And you've got another
I do.
date there, the December.
These are motions from Committee of the Whole from the 10th of December. First one, that the presented capital budget for 2020-2021 be approved with the following amendments. 1, reallocate Parade Glebe Street sewer separation prior budget amount of $700,000 to fire hall renovations. 2, allocate $250,000 to fire hall renovations 2020-2021 budget. 3, allocate $1 million to Parade Glebe Street sewer separation 2020-2021 budget. 4, reallocate $150,000 to waterfront project prior budget and $250,000 to 2020-2021 budget.
Where do you get the or? And? Or is it or?
And.
And. Second. Am I supposed to second that? Or is it?
You can if you wish.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Moved and seconded with the ands. Okay, any discussion on this? CAO, were you? I did have a messy page with everything written on it, but that's okay. Yep, go ahead, CAO.
So there is one error. There's one error, and it's bullet 4. The reallocate the $150,000 to waterfront project prior budget. So the $150,000 is actually the 2021 plan, and 2021-22 would be the $250,000.
That's what I have.
Right, that's on this,
Oh,
that's
it's
on this sheet.
right on the sheet.
But in what you read, those...
It didn't say that.
That's right, it didn't quite say that. So
Okay.
that there was that slight error.
Yep.
But the correct budget is the spreadsheet that you have a paper copy on
Yes.
your desk.
We have this.
So I just want to make sure the wording in the motion match the
Right
spreadsheet.
here.
Okay, so are we clear with what the CAO just,
So we have to add in there. So it's on the fourth line. After where it says the budget, it says the year.
It's
2020/2021, right after that.
2020, 2021.
And the other one says that it's in the year 2021, 2022, right?
Yes,
Good?
yeah.
Okay.
2021, 2022 budget. Do you want me to reread it? Or are we good?
I think we're clear. Everyone's looking at the spreadsheet as the correct version.
Yes.
Just moving that one bullet up a year.
Mhm.
Back a year.
Yep.
Good, so are we good?
No.
No, Don's not good.
I'm not good, because the year of the second one,
Can you put your light on?
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The year of the second one, when I'm reading this cheat sheet, it says the second one is the year 2021, 22. So on the first part of that line should read relocation of 150,000 to the waterfront project prior to the budget 2020-21. And the second part should read 250,000 to the year 2021-22.
22.
Is that right?
Yes.
Right on.
Okay,
Got it?
yeah.
Thank you.
Now it reads right.
Well, you know what?
I'm just following charts.
So are we all good?
We're good.
Okay, so Counselor Wade made that motion with the appropriate changes. Counselor Don, are you going to second that?
Sure. Yeah, with the changes.
Is it right now?
It's right.
Good stuff. Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
All right,
Give
thank,
ourselves a capital budget. How'd that happen? It's not even Christmas. Merry Christmas.
here comes the scary
That
one.
is, it's a huge step.
That council decreases the grants to organizations by $5,000 in the current fiscal year of 2019, 2020.
That's your motion?
That's the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion oh, sorry, not carried yet. I almost got it out.
So how can we do that? Someone might say.
Yes,
Well, we haven't spent it yet.
that's right.
Okay, so frankly, we haven't spent it, and we're not gonna be able to spend it. We're putting it in another place where it'll be more usefully used. Thank you.
Steph. Thank you, Counselor.
Next.
Oh,
that-
wait a minute. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. We've got us some money.
Next. That council grant the Waterfront Development Corporation $10,000 in the current fiscal year of 2019, 2020.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
That council defer the facade program grant of $75,000 in the current fiscal year of 2019, 2020 to the 2020, 2021 budget.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
And finally, Your Worship, that council accept the Director of Finance recommendations of adjustments to the operating budget for the current fiscal year of 2019, 2020. See Appendix.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? CAO?
Your Worship, these measures, these adjustments are related to items in the top part of the attachment from the Director of Finance, and the Director of Finance will be reviewing the situation regularly as we go forward to ensure that we land this current budget on target. And so we expect at the Committee of the Whole meeting in January, he'll have an update for us and let us know how the plan is tracking and if any further adjustments are necessary.
Good. Okay. Are you, is that it?
I'm done. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Citizen Advisory Committees.
Did we pass that?
We sure did.
Okay.
Didn't we?
I thought he jumped in there and gave us an explanation and we didn't even move.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Tell you one thing, Counselor Don, you're earning your money tonight. You're keeping us all on track. Yeah, we'll review the tape after. You know what, if you can't have fun doing this, then we shouldn't be here. Okay. Citizen Advisory Committees, Planning Advisory. Counselor McLeod? Go ahead.
Just one item from our meeting of December the 3rd. I move to proceed to a public participation in order to consider, and if deemed advisable, amend our municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw by adding a note with regards to the Canadian geodetic vertical datum as outlined in our planner's report.
Okay. So moved. Seconded. Any discussion?
Don't ask for an explanation.
I can.
There's an awful lot of words there that I'm making.
I can give an explanation. This is, I got to say it at the Planning Advisory Committee. My first phone call before I came to Planning Advisory was to my son, who exactly a month ago got his PhD, so he's now Dr. Mood, and it's in this field. Okay. So basically, just to keep us up to date because of the water levels and all those pieces. It's basically climate change, and we just want to keep on track with those types of things. Is that enough? Yeah. I didn't dare to go to that meeting without that phone call, and I said, I'm thankful that's what you're studying, because Mama doesn't understand it. So, but I did after. Okay, so moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. That was your item, your one item. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, reports for information, questions for committee chairs. Anything for committee chairs? We're good? Okay. Additions, South Park lights. So I just put that on there because I probably, like some of you, I've been getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of activity on social media, but I have received phone calls. The lights in South Park, some of them just go out and they stay out. And some issues there. So basically I contacted Parks because I knew our Parks Department would be on top of that before I even asked the question, and they certainly were. So there is, they are looking for replacement lights because these are kind of just haphazard pulled together for the park, and they're just budgeting for those and trying to find prices. So they're doing that. The other piece is, I did speak to a lady that kind of keeps her eye on the park, and she said one side of the park stays lit all the time. And then when I talked to our parks guy, he said the lights here in Frost Park and Sealed Landers sometimes go out, but it's the wet. And so we've had a lot of wet and cold and ice and just miserable weather, and it kind of, it throws everything off. So they're just making sure they're checking all of those pieces. I think everything is under control. Were you going to share something? You look like you're going to share something. So anyway, I guess I wanted to mention it publicly that we're absolutely looking after that. Frost Park is amazing. Sealed Landers is amazing, and the South Playground is coming together. It's just a matter of getting new lights, because I think what they have is just secondhand, and it really needs a refit. And so I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty excited about that one. So that's the update there. And the other addition, Councillor Hood, intersection obstructions. Go ahead.
Your Worship, I've had some inquiries about what the town can or may be able to do in some situations around intersections in the town where there are sightline obstructions that may be hazardous, and where the obstructions may be shrubbery or that kind of thing, trees, bushes, located on private property and not on the town property. And what, if anything, can or cannot be done by the town in cases where there is assessed to be a need to improve the sight lines for safety purposes. So I simply make a motion that we request town staff and the traffic authority to bring us up to date on what, if anything, can be done if a situation like that exists.
Yep.
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, approval of invoices.
I'll move that we pay our invoices.
Thank you. It's a good practice.
I find.
It's, yeah, Phil does usually do that.
Usually at home I vote against it, but I get
Right.
overruled anyway.
Remember I said I signed the checks already? Gosh, okay, so who seconded that? Okay, Counselor Jim, all those in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Date of next meeting? January the 9th will be the date of the next meeting. So just a couple things. Town Hall is closed between Christmas and New Year's, right? Noontime on the 24th until January 2nd. And we're usually full of chocolate by about 9 o'clock on the 24th, so lots of energy. The other thing is the New Year's levy, and that we always share that with the municipality, so it's being held at the municipality this year, I believe from 11 till 1. So folks want to head out to the municipal building in Hebron for the levy. It's a great time, lots of food, and get to see folks that we haven't seen in a while, so that's great as well. So I would say, Councillor Jim's going to say something, but on behalf of Town Council, to everybody that's listening, everybody in the audience, including Councillor Steve's parents, welcome. And Joey's here. We always like to see Joey here. Going to have a good Christmas? Yeah. Yes, you are. So from council and staff, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and just blessings on everyone. And I would say that I think if we had one wish as a council, it would be that every single one of us reach out to somebody in need, because everybody doesn't have. So we just need to look after each other. Councillor Jim, were you going to share something?
You took the words out of my mouth.
Okay.
I was simply going to wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Good? Okay. Oh, Councillor Cliff.
So we serve on a number of committees, some of us more than others, and we often serve on committees that involve all of the other all three municipalities in this county of ours. I mentioned Waste Check earlier, so I'll not refer to that, but we have airport, and we have industrial commission, and we have other things, solid waste park. And what I wish to do on behalf of myself, at least, on all those committees, is wish all my colleagues, Warden Danny, Warden Leland, and all of their councilors the very best Christmas wishes and a Happy New Year, and hopefully a very productive 2020 on all these problems that we try to beaver away at and find solutions for. And that is my sincere and fervent wish. Your worship.
Thank you. Councillor Don?
On behalf of the council, I'd like to thank the staff for the hard work that they've done over the season, wishing them the best of Christmas holidays and also a Happy New Year. I think that needs to be really pushed out there, and that we really appreciate all the hard work that they've done for several years, and they keep us on the straight and narrow track. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to the staff.
Good. All righty.